Right before I could propose, my girlfriend vanished. 5 years later, I discovered she had run away with my own brother. I am 29 years old now, and for the past 5 years, I have been alone. The day she disappeared, it felt like my whole world crumbled. I never tried to start anything new with another woman because, deep down, I kept holding on to the idea that she might come back one day. We had been together since our last year of high school, nearly 6 years in total. Even through college, despite the distance, we made it work. We could only see each other a couple of times a month, but I believed we had something strong. I thought we were happy. At least I was. When I turned 24, I planned to ask her to marry me. Everything was set up. Our families and friends were all going to be there to witness the moment. But the day before, she was just gone. That evening, she texted me, saying she would be home late from work. I waited for her, stayed up all night, checking my phone over and over again, expecting her to walk through that door. But she never did. I called her over and over, sent message after message, but there was nothing, no response. I reached out to her friends and even her family, but they had all blocked me. Some of our mutual friends claimed they had no idea what happened, while others simply told me to move on. Looking back, I wonder how many of them actually knew the truth. Her social media accounts had disappeared. No trace of her anywhere. It was as if she had been erased from existence overnight. I never even got a goodbye. To this day, I do not know if she found out that I was going to propose and ran, or if it was just a coincidence. Either way, she was gone, and there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. At one point, I even considered filing a missing person report, but at the last second, I stopped myself. She was not missing. She just did not want to be found by me. For months, I obsessed over trying to track her down. I created fake social media accounts, searched for any trace of her online, but I always came up with nothing. Maybe she deleted her accounts. Maybe she changed her name, just like I did while searching for her. Whatever the case, I eventually had to accept that she was untraceable. It was exhausting, mentally, emotionally. Deep down, I knew she did not want me to find her. For years, I held on to the belief that she had loved me, that she had been happy with me. She certainly acted like she was, and that is why I waited. I was not expecting to get back together with her, but I at least wanted some answers. I want to know why. I did go on a few dates after she left, but it never felt right. No matter who I was with, she was always in the back of my mind. So, eventually I just stopped trying. It was easier that way. For almost 4 years, I did not even consider dating anyone. Every time I thought about it, her face was there like a flashing warning sign, telling me no. I knew it was pointless to keep waiting for her, but I could not seem to let it go. 3 years ago, I started seeing a therapist, and it helped. I learned to manage my emotions, to process the loss in a healthier way. I was not sitting around in misery all the time anymore, but I still had not been able to forget her. I know how pathetic it sounds, but I was serious about her. She meant everything to me, and I just could not understand how she could disappear from my life without a single word of explanation. Then 2 weeks ago, I found out the truth. I was at my mother's house with my brother. He is 33 now, and he has lived in Canada since he was 22. He only comes back home twice a year, usually just for a couple of weeks. This time, though, he had been staying for over a month because our mother was sick, heart disease. It was serious. He had been planning to leave 2 weeks ago, but he extended his trip to stay with her. My brother and I were never particularly close. As kids, we got along fine, but after he left for college, we barely spoke. Then, he moved to another country and built a whole life there. Meanwhile, I stayed here. We never really reconnected. Still, when he came back home, we got along well enough, even if it was mostly for our mother's sake. Last week, I stopped by my parents' house to bring some soup for my dad. He had called earlier to say he would be home late, and I had a spare set of keys, so I let myself in quietly. I did not want my mother to have to get up and answer the door. I was heading toward her room to check on her when I heard voices inside. I froze. My mother and brother were talking about her. My ex-girlfriend. Her name is unusual, and I have never met anyone else with the same one, so there was no doubt in my mind they were talking about her. I heard my mother ask my brother when he was bringing her and the kids down for a visit. She said she wanted to see them while she still could because she was getting too old and sick to travel. I stood there, barely breathing, as my brother answered. He told her that they were trying to figure out a way to bring them here without me finding out. He said it was too risky. That was why they had not flown in yet. I could not move. My mind was struggling to process what I had just heard. He was talking about my ex, the woman I had loved, the woman I had planned to marry. And the kids? She had a child. No, children. I did not stick around to hear more. I turned and left the house without a word. When I got home, I sat down on my computer and logged into one of my old fake social media accounts. I had made them 5 years ago, back when I was desperate to find any trace of her. For all those years, I had searched for her name, but never once had I thought to search for my brother's. He had always told me he hated social media and did not use it. I had no reason to doubt him. It had never even crossed my mind that he might have been lying. I typed in his name and found nothing. Then I tried a different name, the childhood nickname our parents used to call him. And there it was, a public Instagram account, a couple hundred followers. I clicked on it, my heart pounding, and there she was. Photo after photo of my brother, my ex-girlfriend, and a little boy who looked just like her. Except for the eyes. The eyes looked exactly like my brother's. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. This was where she had been all along. 4 or 5 years, I had been searching for her, waiting for her, hoping she would come back. And all that time, my own family had known the truth. They had lied to me. They had let me suffer, let me grieve. They had chosen to protect my brother instead of telling me the truth. I sat there for what felt like hours, trying to wrap my head around it all. And then I knew what I had to do. I was not going to disappear like she did. I was going to make sure they all knew that I had figured it out. I picked up my phone, opened the messages, and typed out a single line. I know what you did. Tell me why. Then I hit send. She responded with 2 paragraphs, making it clear that she had moved on with her life. She was married now and had a child. She told me that the fact that I even found her account and messaged her was completely out of line. She said she did not owe me an explanation, and neither did my brother. I should just let go of the past and forget about her. Then she hit me with something that stung more than I expected. She said that if 5 years had not been enough for me to move on, then maybe I was the problem, not her. She went even further, calling me a creep for reaching out, telling me to stop asking questions about the past and to get myself checked because, in her words, there's clearly something wrong with you. That is what she told me. I sat there staring at my phone, trying to process her words. I had expected maybe anger, maybe guilt, maybe some kind of awkward apology, but this, I never thought she would react this way. All I had done was ask for an explanation, something I felt I deserved. I did not want to get back together with her. I knew she had moved on, and I was not trying to ruin her life. I just wanted closure so I could finally put this behind me. But instead of answering my question, she treated me like I was some kind of obsessive stalker. Even now, I still did not know if I was wrong to ask. Maybe I should have just left it alone, but how was I supposed to? How do you move on from something like this without any answers? The rest of my family kept trying to contact me, calling and texting nonstop. I ignored them all. I was not interested in hearing whatever excuses they had. The few friends I had back then, the ones who used to be mutual friends with my ex, were not in my life anymore either, so I had nobody to talk to about any of this. I felt completely alone. Update 1. It has been a week since I sent that message. I have been meaning to write an update, but I got caught up in work and needed some time to clear my head. Looking back, I still do not think I was wrong to ask for an explanation. But I have realized something important. None of it matters anymore. She is not going to give me closure. She never planned to. She is just a terrible person who betrayed me with my own brother, spent 6 years with me while lying the whole time, and then ran off without a word. That is the truth, and no amount of talking or questioning is going to change it. For the first few days after she sent that message, I felt lost. The whole situation was too much, and I did not know how to handle it. But now I feel better than I have in years. Her words made me see something I had been too blind to accept. She was the problem, not me. I gave her my love, my trust, and 6 years of my life, and she threw it all away for my brother. And my family? They did nothing but enable it. I had already lost her 5 years ago. I just had to lose her again when I found out the truth. And this time, it was not just her, it was my whole family. The pain of betrayal is unlike anything else. It is not just sadness or anger. It is a deep, gut-wrenching kind of hurt that makes you question everything you ever believed about the people closest to you. I would not wish it on anybody. Even my therapist was shocked when I told her what happened. She said it was one of the worst cases of family betrayal she had ever heard. I have not responded to my family since I found out, and I do not think I ever will. There is nothing they can say to make this right. Not anymore. My mother is sick, and I know that. But after what she did, after how she helped them lie to me for 5 years, I do not know if I will ever be able to forgive her. Right now, all I can do is focus on moving forward. Update 2. Today, my brother showed up at my house, demanding that we have a civilized conversation. That is what he said. He stood outside my door, knocking, calling me immature for refusing to talk to him. It has been 3 weeks since I found out the truth. 3 weeks since I cut them all off. Since then, my phone has been blowing up with messages from my family, but I never even opened them. I did not care what they had to say. And now, here he was standing outside my house, acting like I was the one being unreasonable. I had no idea why they were all so desperate to talk to me now. If they had cared this much about me, they would have been honest from the start. They made their choice. They picked my brother over me. So why act like they wanted me in their lives now? I ignored him, hoping he would leave, but he kept talking. He started explaining himself through the door. He said that he and my ex had fallen in love during one of his visits home. They tried to fight it, he said. They tried to stay apart, but it was too difficult. So they had to run away together. He said my parents only kept it a secret because they did not want to hurt me. That was their excuse. They planned to tell me, eventually, but they wanted to wait until I had met someone new, so it would not be as painful. I almost laughed when I heard that. Did he actually believe that was a good plan? That keeping me in the dark for 5 years was somehow the better option? What would have happened if I had moved on and then found out? That would have ruined whatever happiness I'd built. Honestly, I was relieved I never found someone else. I was relieved that I found out on my own, instead of them feeding me whatever twisted version of the truth they had planned. After a while, I finally lost my patience. I opened the door just enough to tell him to get off my property. I warned him that if he did not leave, I would call the police. That is when he snapped. He told me the only reason he was even bothering to talk to me was because our mother was deeply sorry and that my silence was making her stress worse, which was only worsening her condition. If it were not for Mom, he would not have even bothered trying to make amends. He actually said that to my face. He made it clear, if she were not sick, he would have happily kept living his life with my ex, ignoring me like I did not exist. It took everything in me to not punch him right then and there. I took a deep breath, looked him in the eye, and told him to go to hell. He cursed at me as he walked away. I shut the door, locked it, and sat on my couch, trying to process what had just happened. I could still hear his words echoing in my head. If it were not for Mom, he would not have even been here. That was what it all came down to. They did not care about me. They never cared about me. They just did not want to deal with the guilt. I turned on the television, trying to distract myself, but it was no use. I could not focus on anything. I do not know what to do about my mother. I do not want her health to get worse, but I also do not want to pretend like nothing happened. Maybe I will visit her, but if I do, it will be on my terms. I will not go if my brother or my father are there. I do not want to see them ever again. Update 3. Yesterday, I finally met with my mother, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I had some control over this situation. It has been a long time since I felt anything close to satisfaction, but I walked away from that conversation knowing I had finally turned the tables. I made sure she understood that if she wanted to keep me in her life at all, she and my father needed to change their wills. They were going to leave the majority of what they had to me. I have done my research. I know that if they leave everything to me, my brother might be able to contest it. So I'm making sure they give him as little as possible. Enough that it looks fair on paper, but not enough to truly matter. She resisted at first. She cried. She tried to reason with me, begged me to let it go, but I did not budge. I made it very clear. Either she did this, or she lost me forever. In the end, she caved. She agreed. The family lawyer is coming over in 2 days, and I will be there to witness everything myself. And the best part? I am keeping this a secret. My parents spent years lying to me, protecting my brother at my expense. Now, it is his turn to know what betrayal feels like. He will not see it coming. He will think everything is fine. And then, one day, he will realize that his own parents cut him out of nearly everything. That they chose me over him, just like they once chose him over me. Some might say it is petty. Maybe it is. But they did not care about my feelings when they lied to my face, when they let me suffer for years, searching for answers they all had. So I do not feel bad for taking something back from them. It is not just about the money. It is about making sure they understand that their choices had consequences. Yesterday, when I walked into my mother's house, I was not sure what I was going to do. I did not even have a real plan. I just wanted to hear what she had to say. At least my father and brother were not there. That was the only reason I even considered going. The moment she saw me, she burst into tears. She hugged me like she actually expected me to comfort her. She kept saying how sorry she was, how much she regretted everything. But I felt nothing. There was no anger, no sadness, just emptiness. I hugged her back, but only out of habit. Then she told me the truth. Not just the parts I already knew, but everything. She and my father had known about my brother and my ex-girlfriend for years. They found out one night when my brother was visiting, and they caught the two of them together. I was in the other room. I had no idea. My girlfriend and I had already been together for nearly 4 years at that point. But instead of telling me, instead of forcing my brother and my girlfriend to confess, they kept it quiet, because they knew the two of them were in love. That was their reason. They meant to tell me, but the timing was never right. Then, one day, I told them I was planning to propose. And what did they do? They told him. And within days, my brother and my parents worked together to arrange a flight for my girlfriend to Canada. They sent her away before I could even ask the question. While I was running around like an idiot, trying to find her, calling everyone I knew, my parents already knew exactly where she was. And they had warned everyone to keep quiet. Friends, family, anyone who might have told me the truth was told to keep me in the dark. They had it all planned. The lengths they went to were unbelievable. I actually started laughing when my mother admitted to photoshopping vacation pictures so that I would not realize they had been visiting my brother and my ex. They sat with me, comforted me when I cried, told me they were so sorry she had left me, while the whole time they were flying across the world to celebrate my brother's wedding, their baby shower, and I never knew. They had every chance to tell me the truth, and they chose to lie over and over again. And now, when it was all too late, she wanted to apologize? I did not care. She could cry all she wanted. I was done feeling sorry for myself. So I made a decision right then and there. If she really wanted to make things right, she was going to prove it. She was going to take my brother's future away, just like he had taken mine. And that is how I ended up making her change the will. It had not even crossed my mind before. But when she sat there, spilling the truth, I realized something. They had stolen everything from me. My peace of mind, my happiness, my family. I had nothing left of what my life was supposed to be. So fine, if they wanted me to forgive them, then they were going to give me something back. And soon enough, 90% of everything my parents own will belong to me. My brother, he will be left with nothing. I told my mother that I would never speak to my brother again. I do not care if he comes begging. I do not care if he realizes what is happening. He is dead to me. And my father? I have nothing to say to him either. The only reason I'm still willing to talk to my mother is because she is sick. But even she should be grateful that I agreed to stay in her life at all after what she did. I might change my mind later. Maybe I will walk away from all of them completely. I do not know yet. All I do know is that my brother and my ex deserve each other. And I deserve better. That is what I'm going to focus on now. A better life. A better future. Without them. I do not need closure anymore. I am done.